Let's turn to business news now. Nona, hi Nona, home loan interest rates are on the rise.
They are.
This has been predicted for some time, right? What's happening?
Yeah, so over the last few weeks, we've seen fixed rates, mostly in the fixed rates area, rise up. We've got 4.75% for a 2-year mortgage. That's more than we saw just 3 weeks ago at 4.5%. So yeah, we're going to see that. Now, why, you might ask? Because the Reserve Bank hasn't changed anything in terms of their official cash rate, right? But it's costing a lot more money for banks to borrow overseas. So they're not having the deposits they used to have. Now they've got to go overseas to get the money that they're lending back into the market. And that's more expensive. So
in the meantime, there are a whole lot of people, particularly in our major cities and particularly in Auckland, mortgaged up to the eyeballs, right, in order to get into this incredible property market.
And they're going to be spending a lot more money, believe me, yeah. So we're looking at now some floating rates have been raised by banks to between 5.4 and 5.6%.
Right.
So that's a lot, you know.
It's a hell of a big margin on the official cash rate.
Especially when you look at the kinds of mortgages that people have against their homes. So it's a lot of cash, yeah.
Okay, we're going to follow up with the banks. We'll make some calls on this. Thanks,
Well,
Nona.
there you go. And of course, now we've got inflation data coming out tomorrow. Now we're expecting the inflation rate to move within the Reserve Bank's target range of 1 to 3%, which means the Reserve Bank is very unlikely to raise interest rates. So basically, both the banks have raised the rates because it's costing them more money. Inflation is on the rise as well. So we're unlikely to see the Reserve Bank do anything with our official cash rate. And of course, that's underpinning the value of the New Zealand dollar, which is holding steady at the moment, unlike the Australian dollar.
Which has done what?
Well, actually, the New Zealand dollar has increased 0.5 cent today against the Australian dollar.
That's a big rise on a day.
Yeah, the Australian dollar is not doing that well because their inflation is quite low, lower than the market was expecting, and that means that it's possible that the Reserve Bank of Australia might actually lower interest rates. So it's a kind of a complicated, mix of things going on in the world. When you look at the markets generally, though, it's very much a Donald Trump story. Everything that he's doing is having more of an influence on the markets than anything else. So we're seeing a lot of I guess a lot of turmoil somewhat. People are taking positions. So one day the dollar's up, the next day the dollar's down. It just really depends on the weather, really.
Speaking of Donald Trump, we'll have more on him later.
Right.
He's complaining about something, so we'll update that. I want to talk briefly about Pumpkin Patch. Can you talk to us about Pumpkin Patch?
Yeah.
So Pumpkin Patch has it's all over today, right? All the staff have lost their jobs.
Not all of the staff. In fact, so the distribution staff, they lost their jobs today. They no longer have any stock to distribute.
And the union told us that some of them have been there for a very long time. One of them, I think, have been there for 26 of the 27-year life of the company. Really? How much redundancy is he or she getting?
Nothing. No, nothing really. There was no money left in the kitty for them. Now, they're going to get their holiday pay, so they get something. But that's really the least that they should get. Okay, so the way it works is basically Pumpkin Patch had 2 operating arms. One of them was the company that distributed the stock and ran the head office, and the other was the retail arm, which had the stock. So the retail staff have redundancy agreements, and they do have redundancy agreements. They will be given their full entitlement when a good number of them are going to lose their job at the end of this month.
Right.
And then the rest will be sort of towards the middle of February when the rest of the stores close.
But the distribution staff were in some kind of standalone operation, were they?
Well, yeah. So the way that the company was structured was that one part of the company had held the stock and the other part of the company didn't hold the stock. So when the receiver started selling up, of course, the money wasn't there. So so there's, I think, 15 people in the distribution. They're not going to get any redundancy payments. They're going to get their holidays. The retail staff that qualified for their redundancy, so it's the same package as whatever, people sometimes depends on how long they work there. They'll get their full redundancy payouts.
That's crappy for those distribution
it's really
staff
been
people.
A tough go. But Pumpkin Patch, we're almost done with that. Now, the one thing that is still of value within the company is the brand. The receiver has some expressions of interest in purchasing the brand, but none of the stock and none of the other assets of the company.
Right. Nona, just before you go, did we talk about the share market? We talked about the dollar.
We did.
Up 0.5% against the Aussie, but what about the share market?
Yeah,
just
okay, we rose 0.4%. That's 27 points to 7,091. The New Zealand dollar was trading at 72.5 US cents and 96 cents Australian.
Nona Peltier, thank you so much.